see what you become. I can't play. Let me see if I can go to the chorus. Let's see. Cause you were the one sure thing. The one sure thing. Maybe I'm not. Maybe there's the chord. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I need someone to do an arrangement for me on this. Maybe I'm not crazy, just inconsolable. Anyway, I'm playing with that song. Somebody was like, Donna, you haven't sung Inconsolable in so long. Why aren't you singing more? Because I really, really don't play that well, and I'm on a keyboard that has no sustain pedal. But I guess I should sing more. I don't know. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. Hello. How's everybody today? Welcome to Latte and a Prayer. Here's my latte. I guess that was my prayer, my singing. So today, I don't know if Jimmy's here. I have a really special guest today. I'm very excited. But I don't see him here yet. Oh, yes, he's here. I was looking for Jimmy, but I actually should be looking for Stage Door Medium. So he's at Stage Door Medium. Really, really, really great human being. I'm just going to invite him on, and we're going to say hi, and we're going to chat, okay? Let me bring Jimmy on. Let me invite you. How do I do this? Guys, I'm not good at bringing people on. What do I do? Invite. How do I do it? Invite. Go live with. Look at this. Send request.
Where's Jimmy? Hi!
There we are.
Hi,
how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Look. I have like my amethyst. This is like I'm a little like woo-woo today because like, oh yeah. This is my precious. I got this in Bermuda. I love my amethyst.
It's so nice.
Isn't that beautiful? It comes with me everywhere.
Is it heavy? It looks it.
It's very heavy. I'm just gonna take my keyboard, my little tiny rinky-dink keyboard that has gotten me through this year. I actually love my keyboard. I should not call it rinky-dink. But you can make music and not spend a fortune on fancy stuff. So I'm just gonna move this over and come back. And how are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing well. I got my latte ready to go too.
Oh, good. What do you have? What are you drinking?
It's so good. So it's a maple one. So and I saw them put like this much like maple.
Oh, you went and had
syrup.
it. Where did you go? Did you go to local or is it a Starbucks? What do we got?
No, it's local. It's called Tipico, and it used to be on the west side of Buffalo, and then they just I think they purchased the building, and then they took a couple months to rehab it, and they just opened. It's so good.
Yay!
It's a good day for a hot drink.
Yes, it is. And you're in Buffalo, and
Yes.
Carolina is saying she loves the picture behind me. There it is. Yes, it's that Elfie picture of a post-show in Seattle with my wig cap on. My photographer friend came to see the show, and we smuggled in the prop Elphaba, which no one is. It's really like contraband what I did. But I've been out of the show so long now. I'm like, what are they going to do to me? I hope you don't mind. I did a little singing beforehand. I had some requests for some. I said, why are you not singing on your show? I said, because I don't want it to be like, oh, listen to me sing. But maybe I'll sing a little in the beginning. Every time I would put a song on to start this show, it would get taken down because of licensing. So I was like, that just shows that I have to just sing. That's like the universe telling me like, okay.
Exactly.
So you're also a teacher. Can we talk about that a little bit? Okay, great. So how is that going? Like all the virtual. First of all, thank you for. I I'm a teacher, but I'm not a teacher in like the school system. Like you are like a true
Sure.
blue, like in the school system teacher. Are you hybrid? Are you in person? What is the
Sure.
sitch?
So we're fully remote right now. So we
Okay.
have been since September. It's a pretty big district. I want to say there's about like 35 to 38,000 students. So yeah, we've been remote. We were coming in 2 days a week physically into the building to teach from there. And just recently we just went orange as of Friday. So I think we're close to red at this point. So now we're
Yeah,
all
you're
at
at
home.
home. I understand. I mean, that's, I feel for many teachers that are having to teach, and then some of the students are at home and some of them are there, and having to do that has to be so hard because I know that I have a lot of students at Fairlawn High School in New Jersey. Like a lot of my voice students are there, and a few of them are actually, and they said that their teachers are saying it's really weird because some of them are online and then some are in the classroom, and how do you teach to both? So that's always, so thank you though. I know it's
Yeah.
an adjustment, but
Yeah, it's rough right now.
yeah.
And the other thing is that they don't necessarily have to turn on their cameras, so we can't see
Right.
faces most of the time. So the joke is that it actually
Oh.
feels like you're conducting a reading. You're like, so and so, are you there? Are you like, give us a sign? And
Right.
it's
Oh, how funny. Yeah. So let's talk about this whole reading thing, because I told naysayers, please come on as well, because I
Yeah,
understand, like,
absolutely.
and I also, some people also, and I just go there, like some people might say like, oh, my religion says that this is not, like, it's against religion, or
Sure,
so what is being a psychic medium? Like, first of all, like,
sure.
when did you know that you had some sort of gift, or when did you put it all together for yourself? Like, how did that?
Sure. Yeah, so I just want to make sure I'm fully answering it. So I am not like, you have so many of these mediums that will say like, oh, since I was 2 years old, I saw, dead people at the side of my bed and I knew the winning lottery numbers. And that's not my story to tell. I mean, I would kind of know when things were going to happen, or I would be able to point somebody out in a photo and go, oh, that's so and so, without knowing. But as a
Mhm.
kid, you just think it's your own imagination, or you think
Right.
it's so it really wasn't until college that I got trained, and I trust me, I think it's when there are people that are skeptic, that would have been me at 15 or 18. Or I mean, I went to some readings, I was told, you have this ability, you're supposed to be doing it. And I was like, this is a crock of shit. Like I was like, yeah, right. And um so I think that's what makes it more authentic and special for me, is the fact that like I wasn't using this as a kid. You know what I mean? And and as for the naysayers, I understand. As for those that say it's offensive to their religion or their faith, I think we also pick and choose, because if you're really looking at the Bible, or whatever faith you belong to, there's a lot of things that are probably truly offensive, if you look at it.
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, a medium's job is to. Oh, the other thing is, I was raised Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic school,
Right.
college, so that's all I've known. And so it's
Well, there are things in all faiths about prophecy as well. So
sure.
these gifts have existed among humans. What is it though? What
Oh yeah,
are you tapping into energy? Can you explain what it's like? And then we're going to talk about
yeah,
the stage door part too, and all of that fun
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So
So,
the way I describe it is like, energy's around us all the time, and a medium is somebody that's able to pick up on that energy and then basically discern who it is. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a human. Sometimes it can be a pet. Sometimes it can
right.
be a spirit guide, which is somebody that would be almost like a Jiminy Cricket for us, that we wouldn't
Uh,
know. So yeah, you have different abilities too, and there's kind of like levels. So I would say the baseline is somebody that would be considered an empath. So for example, an empath could be anyone. So for
well,
example,
you
you
hear
walk
that all
in,
the time, that like, oh, I'm
yeah,
an empath, or I'm empathetic. Like, I feel like I'm an empath. Like, that I can really, that sometimes I have trouble being in social situations because of it.
mhm.
I don't like going to parties because I pick up on it's too much for me.
Actors are typically empathic because they have to be open to so much. They have to be open to the human experience of using emotions that might not even be theirs necessarily, but using it
Right.
to advance a story. And so from there, I would say then the next level would be a psychic. And a psychic would be somebody that's able to relay future information or even be able to pick up on present, but it's not necessarily coming from a loved one. And then there's mediums, which is what I would be. So it's tricky. Even when I describe myself, I like to say medium first before a psychic, because there's still such a negative, like when you think of psychics, you think of, the ones in Times Square that have the little tables out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I put like psychic medium on a thing and I should have been like medium.
No, medium and psychic.
Stage door medium and yeah.
Well, even for
psychic, I think people want to say like, tell me like when I'm going to get a part. And it's like, that's not how it quite works. It's not about, we have free will, right?
Bingo. There's so many times. Yeah, so, and it's funny, I'm actually having Jen Colella come on tomorrow. We're going to interview and talk about if then, because so much of like what if then is about is whether or not it's the free will or is something marked out. So remember, I mean, when you go to a medium, you should never, ever, ever have a medium that tries to tell you that, that you have to do this or you cannot do this. I mean, you have to honor free will. You have to honor that process. And that's also what's tricky right now, especially with the pandemic. So one of the most frequently asked questions I get is like, when is Broadway coming back? When does the pandemic end? It's like when people get their shit together and start wearing a mask and start looking out for each other. So that's all very much contingent on others. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we will be fragmented until we come together.
Bingo.
Period. Like, I don't know any other way to put it. And that goes for everybody. Division everywhere.
Yes.
We are going to stay divided until we choose to come together. And it's like, if we keep pointing fingers at each other, it's not going to help. That's just how I see it. So anyway, yeah, I think I do. And so now tell us about your show and Stage Door Medium. And I will come on, I hope. And you can read me on your show. I'm like, you can't read me here. I'm too nervous. Do you do that? Do you do readings right on the air or no? Or what do you do?
Yeah, a couple things. So Stage Door Medium started during the pandemic. So I had been reading for the Broadway community for quite some time now.
Can I tell everybody how I met you?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting story. Okay. So I was pregnant and Jimmy sends me this message. I didn't really know you that well, but through Facebook, you sent me a message. You're like, I know I don't know you very well, and this is going to sound really strange, but I keep getting this strong message that somebody keeps wanting to say please give the baby a strong Jewish name, preferably with an E. And the interesting thing is that I am not Jewish. My son's father is Jewish, and his grandmother has an E name. Her name began with an E, and she had passed on. And I wanted to name our son Elijah, which is a Jewish name, and it begins with an E. But I had not put it anywhere on social media. And my husband was really into the name Hendrix, and I liked Hendrix too, but I wanted Elijah Hendrix, and he was like Hendrix Elijah. And so when this came through, I called Daren's aunt and was like, the weirdest thing is this guy reached out to me and was like, and she's like, oh, that sounds like my mother. Yeah, she'd be like that, yeah. And it's very funny because I started, and so the middle name, we put Elijah in the middle. So, but it's just so funny because give him a Jewish name, preferably with an E. And so it kind of blew me away. That's all, because it just came out of nowhere.
And that's what
and I scoured my Facebook, and there was nothing. I hadn't written anything about names. We were hiding names from everybody. Nobody knew we were having this conversation. So it's kind of crazy.
And that's what we call evidential information. So as a medium, you have to give things that are specific like that. You can't just go, oh, I have somebody here whose heart stopped. No, duh. That's how everyone dies. Your heart stops. So when when you have somebody that says something like that, it's it's you have to give the specifics. So I guess from there with Stage Door Medium, I started during the pandemic. I started donating all of the readings to members of the Broadway community because I wanted to put good back out there for a community that's done so much for me as an audience member. And for example, I will never forget the first time I saw you perform, and you were in town in Rochester. And it's going to sound like I'm dating us. I'm not. It's just phones really didn't have, I had a flip phone at the time. It was like 2008 or 9 when you were on the tour.
In Rochester, I was there twice on tour. I was on that tour forever. I did Wicked 2.5 years on tour, everybody. I did 8 months as a standby, and then the rest of the time I played the role full time. So I did Elphaba for a year and 7 months on tour full time as Elphaba. That's insane.
Yeah, so it was full time.
I stood by, and I went on for a whole week in Rochester as a standby when Carmen was doing the role. Then I took over for Carmen in Minneapolis in November 2008. Obama had just been elected. I remember the day I started, he got elected that night, and then it was election night, and then I went back to Rochester probably maybe 2009, 2010, 9 or 10, maybe 2009.
It blew me away. I won the lottery for it. And Rochester, they're not, like the box seats or like the random corner that's like out by the stage door. This was front row center. And I remember like, it's one of those things that's like branded up here. So it's those types of moments that stick with me that I'm like, I wanted to give back. And so after the reading, I asked them, I'm like, would you guys have any interest in coming on I'm hoping to start a podcast and a show where we can discuss the parallels between what you do as artists and what I do as a medium, because the parallels are endless. Like everything is rooted in energy, and just like there's so many things.
There's an alchemy, I feel, between the audience and that's something right now that we can't. At the moment, it's impossible to recreate that whole. There's something that happens that when you have live theater, everybody is in the room, all focusing their energy on the same thing at the same time, no matter what. And yes, we can have that into a device and everybody's watching something on TV, but this is different. You're collectively in the same physical space, all focusing on. Now, we all could be having a different experience within, but we are all. There's this alchemy. There's that thing that happens between everybody on stage and the audience it's unknown. It's that magic.
Yeah. It's electric. I mean, can you even imagine?
It's energy,
I mean, the minute that downbeat happens for the overture of Wicked again one day, and I was talking about the final line that just that Glinda has about, we've been through a frightening time, and there was other things, and I think people are going to return to theater with a renewed sense of, I think appreciation and hope in the art form, and hopefully a more diverse Broadway and diverse theater, and we need it.
Yeah, I think so. I just think we have to be patient.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think so. I mean, it's interesting. I've lately just been like, it's been hard. It's been hard for me lately. Like, do I want to? What kind of theater do I want to return to? What do I want to? What kind of world do I want to return to now? It's an interesting conversation. So tell us, we can follow you at Stage Door Medium. So everybody do that. And now you've read me a little bit before, and it's interesting because I've noticed, and it's always been on the phone, and I'm someone that always was sort of a skeptic. So that's why I say, please, skeptics, come. And I'm not trying to make anyone believe anything. I believe in energy. And you can take it or leave it, anything you say. That's how I feel, right? Yep. It's just information coming through, and take it or leave it. I know that, there's that whole concept of like, there are spirits coming through. Or do you hear actual voice? Like, can you tell us a little bit about what that's like?
Yeah, it's a great question.
If you don't mind,
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, and I feel like you'll identify with this too as an actor.
Hi, Bruce Glikas. Bruce Glikas is here. I just want to say hi. I can handle the socks, Bruce. Anyway, as
an actor, I mean, you get to a point where you're done justifying what you do to people, and how many times people are like, oh, well, you're an actress, or let me hear you sing. Right? No, I mean, I don't need to justify what I do. And when people ask and. It's tricky because yes, the podcast is a form of entertainment. The reading itself is not entertainment. You know what I mean?
It's a service in a way, isn't it? You think of it as a service.
yeah, there's deeply personal things that are coming out. And
That's why I'm
so
like, please don't read me today on the
no, and that's the other thing that you should
I texted Jimmy last night and I said, FYI,
don't.
tomorrow I don't want to be read, okay, in front of everybody, because it's just very personal.
Well, that's the other thing that you should know too. So if you're watching, if you know, we're going to start on what is it, December 7th? It's the Monday episodes. Well, you can start to air them on Instagram TV, but you won't find the readings there themselves because they're personal. So
right.
instead, I might say, hey, can you, for example, Jenny DeNoia from Wicked is going to be the first one that comes on. And I might say, hey, do you mind sharing some tidbits about your reading that you feel comfortable with? I'm never, ever, ever going to share, the reading itself. It's private. So in terms of what it looks like on my end, I think TV and movies glamour, like they make it look way cooler and crazier than it is. So there's two things. It's called either subjective or objective. So hearing or seeing. So objective, there's very few mediums that can do it. So objective clairvoyance means I see them like I see you. And I don't work that way. So I work through a subjective lens. So for example, if you're tuning in right now, or Donna, like I know that sometimes you'll drive and while Hamilton's playing, and like, dear God, so many times people get their best ideas while they're driving, because in a way they kind of autopilot themselves home, and
Meditation.
you can space out, bingo, and you start to see things
or in the shower.
Which is, yeah, exactly, because we're relaxed. So our third eye starts to activate. So for me, it's a subjective clairvoyance, where I might have to close my eyes. If not, I can kind of see them like tracing paper, so to speak.
Right.
The same thing works for clairaudience. So for me, I don't hear them like we hear each other. But if I were to say, like, Donna, like, can you close your eyes and hear James Earl Jones's voice? Of course you can. Or if I were to say, can you hear Idina Menzel or Carolee Carmelo? You're going to know that sound. So that's really what it works like. And then for me, it's kind of like a deli. So people are going to come in and take a ticket, and whoever would have the most urgency to speak with you is going to step through first. Like I just did a reading for somebody, and typically our family members are the first that come through. And in this situation, I heard like a little knock, and she was like, I'm here, excuse me, as a male. And he was like, I'm here to talk with her. And I'm like, who are you? And he kept saying mentor. And sure enough, it was one of her acting coaches in college that had passed on. And so it's a great way to, I had to make sure, it's a great way to make sure that you're listening, that you're paying attention to the signs around you as a medium, because it's like anything. It's like you never want to get lazy and start to just think that only grandparents are here or only parent. You know what I mean? You have to really widen that lens, and then also look down too, because pets come through all the time. So it's just
animals have souls.
Yeah, and then animals are tied to our lessons. So because so many times. Can you
expand on that more?
Yeah, so many times we think that the only way we learn lessons are through our relationships with our spouse, with our children, with our mom or dad, or it's also with our pets. Pets are a great way where, they test our patience. They test our ability to love and to show care and comfort for another. Like if I'm having a bad day, or if I feel like I didn't give the best reading possible, and then all of a sudden, like, you want to throw yourself a pity party, and then your dog's like, hey, I have to poop, like, take me outside. Like, you have to get over yourself really quick.
It's like
kids.
What I mean? It's the same thing. Children and pets, they're very similar.
Absolutely. Everyone's like, well, wait till you guys have kids. And I'm like, our dogs were getting us up at 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the morning. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're ready when we're ready to have kids.
Margaret just said all dogs go to heaven.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Margaret.
What's the deal with cats? I was just talking about cats this morning. Like, my husband's cat doesn't like anybody but my husband. That's just that cat.
Cats are. I'm not a cat person. My spouse had cats growing up.
Because I did cats. Hello. I have to be now.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
But they work the exact same way in terms of lessons. Yeah.
Yeah. They're more independent creatures, and they're definitely, in a way. I don't know. They're interesting. I've grown to like cats in a way that I didn't before. I think they're kind of incredible. Yeah. So something I always bring up every episode is prayer. And what is prayer? what does prayer mean to you? When we say, oh, I'll pray for you, people say it all the time. Do you pray? I know the answer because you've done it. You always, well, do you pray? And what is a prayer? What does it mean? Who are we praying to? What is it for you? And what do you think? Do you think there is a place for prayer in the world? And do you think it helps?
Yeah, and it's interesting because as somebody who is extremely spiritual, I also know that science has its place. I'm also somebody that, something that stuck out to me recently was a post that said something like maybe science is the answer to our prayers, and it's so for me, yeah, I like to call prayer as talking to God, and then meditation is listening. So prayer is kind of putting out there what you need, or it can just be a conversation too. I think so many times we get tripped up, even with meditation, about what it has to look like. How do we have to feel while doing it? Sometimes I might just pray in the car, if I'm going on my way to a reading, to just say, I'm really stressed about this today. Could you please help me take this off my plate? Or I think when you see people say like prayers for Paris or prayers, it gets a bad rap. Because
I think I once put something up sending prayers to people in the Philippines because there was a terrible typhoon there. And sometimes people they're like, way be better if you would send money. And I said, oh, I might do that too. But
sure.
I just want to put it out there that I'm sending positive energy because I believe in positive energy.
Prayer and advocacy, you know what I mean? Like it's just because somebody wants to send a prayer up there for somebody, it doesn't mean that they also don't want to take action. It just means they might feel like their hands are tied personally. They might have a lot of stress in the situation. And it's a way of releasing that to the universe because stress doesn't suit us well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not meant to hold on to it.
I think if somebody's asking for prayers, I always offer them because I'll see that sometimes, even like on Facebook, you'll see someone even saying like, I never usually do this, but I'm asking for prayers right now. My mom's sick. And I'll say like, absolutely. And I'll just be like, listen, and I kind of just like, I was raised Catholic as well. And I just sort of go to that place where I'm like, if I close my eyes and I like clasp my hands and I'll just say like, God, please, help so-and-so's mom, I don't know.
And it doesn't have to be like an Our Father. It doesn't have to be.
No. Some people want the structure, and that's okay too, and that's fine. But it doesn't.
Prayer is intention, is what it is.
I love that.
I always say prayer is focused intention. So when if somebody books a reading with me, I always send them a welcome video that I tell them, hey, before we meet, please put it out there to the universe in a thought or a prayer or meditation, what you want to have addressed, because you're creating that intention. And before I meet with the client, about a half hour before you get there, they get there to start lining up and tell me what they want to talk about. So I'll do my prayers, I'll meditate, and then I start taking notes I start listening in and going, okay, this is what they're going to want to talk about. So yeah, prayers is focused intention is another way.
Well, it's really interesting because a lot of people don't know this about me, but I've studied astrology since I was 11 years old. I took an interest in it when I was very young. And it's gotten to the point where I've studied 3 different systems now. I've studied Vedic astrology, which is, believe it or not, it's very different in India. I mean, they're on a different measuring of time, and I actually think it's the right way of measuring time, but that's just my opinion. Western sidereal, and I've also looked at Kabbalistic astrology, which is through Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. And so one thing I've learned through a couple astrological mentors is, I had one gentleman who's wonderful, but he would always say like, this is the blueprint, this is it. There's not much choice that you have. He was so, it's almost like when people look at the Constitution, he was so absolute, right? And I would look at it and say, yeah, this is the blueprint that we come in with, but I think we can transcend anything because of free will. So if you have something in your chart that says you're going to have a horrible relationship with your mother, I would never say that to someone. And I don't believe that. What I see is, oh, wow, there's lessons here and there are challenges, and what an opportunity to grow and change. And wow, this is what your soul chose at this point. But anyway, I could go on and on. But that's
really quick though, to piggyback off that really quick, one of the most beautiful readings I did, and they were about a week apart. I read somebody where I was like, you're having some serious communication issues with your brother. I'm seeing 2 bulls running at each other. I'm like, that's both of you. And when I read the woman, I'm like, it's predominantly your brother that feels like it's driving it right now. And she was like, wow, this makes so much sense. And then in the next breath, a week later, I'm reading this mail and I'm like, oh, I saw the bull symbol again. And I did not realize, Donna, I was reading the siblings and this beautiful moment of seeing both sides are valid. Both sides are coming from a place of pain, of frustration, because their dad passed and they want to try to find closure. And so it's a great way to just.
That's what I say about our country right now, that if we can try to, I know it's really hard and people are very intolerant of it, and I understand why someone's like, I can't, but we have, whether you want to call it conservatives or liberals or Democrats and Republicans, there's so much like, well, they're wrong and they're wrong. And I'm like, what if both sides really truly believe, like they just are, you know what I'm saying? And we're not going to get anywhere until I think we're all humans and we all just are scared. I think that all hate comes from a place of fear. I think that racism comes from fear. I think homophobia comes from fear. Phobia, hello. That's really my take on it. And I think that's taught. I think it's all taught, and it's taught from fear and ignorance. Period.
It comes from a lack of education.
Fear and ignorance. Yes.
And not to get political, but I remember it was Kamala who actually had a great statement. She said, at the end of the day, I think that what keeps Americans up at night, what keeps us all, it's all the same stuff. Is mom healthy? Am I going to be successful? Can I pay my bills? Like, am I, it's really, I think what unites us is greater than I think what divides us. And we have to start to look at you get it. Yeah.
Sometimes things have to get, unfortunately, I always say, like, until we look at something larger than ourselves, sometimes things have to get worse. And that's what's been troubling me all year, is that I'm like, do things have to keep getting worse for everyone to wake up and start loving one another? Is that what, because I know that's how the universe works. I mean, I don't know if you, but I believe that's how the universe works. And so I'm like, come on, everybody.
I know.
Let's send out some love here. We're going to get again.
I know.
We are, pull it together. And I don't like to point fingers. I can't help that. That's just how I am. But anyway, I think I could talk to you, but we're already over time.
That's
you are
okay.
a delight.
You are.
It's Jimmy Moses at Stage Door Medium.
Yes.
And your show is coming, your podcast, is it?
Yeah, December
7th?
December 7th, the first Monday. I chose Mondays because Broadway, when we do come back, most Broadway shows are dark
on Mondays. That's right.
So there's going to be some nights where I will go live, and if you want to request to be in it, if selected, you can get a reading on air. But just know it's going to be, if you're like, wow, that felt generic, it's because it has to be. Like, I can't be divulging really crazy private details about your life on the air, but the interviews, it's going to be on Apple Podcasts. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
So
yeah, I'm excited. I'd love to come on anytime. But I mean, if you want to have me, I'll be there.
Yeah, no, I'm going to get you to come on and interview.
Of course. Lara says it's frustrating because you want to talk to every single person and make them realize. Yeah, but everybody, I think, has to come to realization within themselves at what it means for them to be at peace and to give and love. I mean, I know I sound very hippy dippy. It's like here I am, like my, but so everybody knows, next Sunday, I have Renee Lawless, who was on the Wicked Tour with me as Madame Morrible, and she also stars on the OWN network show, The Have and the Have-Nots, the Tyler Perry show, The Have and the Have-Nots. She is coming on from her church next Sunday. So she will be, and she was also a former Miss America. So it's going to be very exciting to have Renee Lawless on. And she's actually talking to us the day before her 60th birthday. And I spent her 50th birthday with her on the Wicked Tour. So it's sort of 10 years later, we're kind of having a little birthday party for her. Thank you, Amir Savage. Does anybody have any last minute questions before we go? Anything, anybody? Well, here's what you do. If you have any, go to @StageDoorMedium, follow Jimmy, and watch and listen to the podcast.
All
right. Thank you, guys. Jimmy, so good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
And I can't wait to watch. All right.
Yay. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And thank you, everybody. I will see you next week with Renee Lawless from the Have and the Have-Nots and from the Wicked Tour with me. And we'll talk about our time on that tour.